the best taste of your day.
Merry Christmas! Welcome to Wrestling with Cards. I absolutely love the holiday season. It's my favorite time of the year. It's a time of giving, a time of spending time with loved ones, and of course, great holiday treats. Who doesn't like a fresh cup of hot chocolate? I know I do, especially if there's a little bit of coffee in there. And back in the day, not only did major wrestling events take place on Christmas Day and Thanksgiving and throughout the holiday season, but we also had some great food issue wrestling cards that were made. And today we're going to talk about the 1986 Carnation Major League Wrestling cards. But before we get into that, again, just a few reminders of how you can help show your support for my content. You're already here, it's easy, it's free. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give me a like, and spread this video and this channel with anybody you know that likes Christmas, that likes wrestling cards, any type of collectible. Just spread the word about the channel. And before you get out of here, don't forget to check all of the links below in the show notes. There's my social media accounts are down there. You can follow me. I would appreciate that. My eBay store, Wrestling with Cards, the podcast, Worlds Collide podcast, Patreon, it's all down there. You can check that out at your own time. But let's talk about some kind of Christmas-related wrestling cards, shall we? So these cards were produced in 1986, despite saying 1985 on the back of them. Go figure, right? Wrestling cards having some inconsistencies. There's a total of 6 cards in this set, and they represent talent from both the AWA and the NWA at that time. I've talked about before in previous videos about how interesting it is to see these 80s products that featured different talent from different promotions within the same thing, like the Wrestling All-Stars or the Monty Gum set, and of course the set we're talking about today, Carnation Major League Wrestling. Based on the time frame of this release and the names that are involved in the cards, I want to say that this card is loosely affiliated with the Pro Wrestling USA cross promotion that ran for just a short time. As far as the cards go, to my knowledge, they came in 2 per pack, and the packs were small, like it was in a pack, but it was clear see-through plastic. And these were thrown into the boxes of hot chocolate. In fact, the first ever interview I did on this channel was featuring David Peck, and he had a PSA 10 sealed pack of one of these, and he cracked it open right on our interview. Make sure to go check that out there. These cards are very condition sensitive and tough to find in a good grade. As I said, there were 6 cards in this set, so it makes it a little bit easier if you want to try to set collect this. Also interesting enough, there was an offer on the back of the card which featured a poster that you could mail in for. Up until recently, I had never seen one of these, but lo and behold, someone on Twitter always comes through, and they posted the picture of this poster, so we do know now that it does exist. So let's run through this set and take a little bit deeper look at these cards. We're going to kick things off with Kamala, the Ugandan giant. I love the 1986 Cup logo on there. That's pretty cool. I wonder if that's kind of a throwback to the Topps Rookie Cup that you see on some of their baseball cards and other sports cards, but I love this design. It's very simple. You got the Major League Wrestling card logo across the top. I wouldn't want to mess with Kamala here. He's got that spear, and, I don't know that this would be an acceptable thing today, but for the time, it was a really good gimmick. Let's look at the back of the card. One of the most ferocious competitors in ring history. The giant Kamala has very little understanding of actual rules governing professional wrestling. He easily lifts unlucky opponents overhead by their throats and tosses them about like rag dolls. Kamala simply does not understand the nature of pain, so he cannot successfully attack in any conventional manner. Here's my favorite part. Hobbies: eating live chickens, warlike rituals. Is this actually Kamala, or could this be Abdullah the Butcher? We don't know. Next up, we're going to talk about Ric Flair, probably one of the more popular cards in this set. I love this image. You can tell he pretty much just won a match, although he's not bleeding, so that's very strange. Normally he's always bleeding after a match. I love he's got the NWA title, so when this picture was taken, when these cards were produced, he was still the traveling NWA World Champion. Again, I had mentioned that this was possibly a crossover between the AWA, NWA. I think there's some other promotions involved that encompassed Pro Wrestling USA, which if memory serves, it was like the promotions got together to try to combat the WWF because they were stealing all the talent, so all these promotions were going to kind of do the same thing. We got to look at the back of the card, of course. Possessing tremendous wrestling knowledge and equally tremendous ego, that's for sure. Ric Flair is both loved and hated by wrestling fans. The 3-time champ, wow, 3? What happened to 16? You can tell when this card was made. Flair commands respect and recognition worldwide as one of the greatest and most flamboyant champions in history. Rick is known for his figure 4 leg lock, which ends in the voluntary submission of his opponents. An accomplished pilot, Ric Flair often flies to his matches in his own Learjet. Hobbies, cars, and clothes. Pretty simple, at least he's not eating live raw chickens. Next card up, the Koloffs, Ivan and Nikita. We've seen different variations of Koloffs over the years, but this is the OG. This is the one that matters. I mean, look at these guys. They've got these menacing faces. They've got these chains wrapped around them. I don't want to mess with them, and they were a great tag team in my opinion. I love this card. One of the most brutal tag teams in history. I just said that. The Russian-born Koloffs have vowed to destroy all American wrestlers. Nikita's incredible size and power, plus Uncle Ivan's vast ring experience from a devastating combination that has ridden roughshod over a magnitude of opponents worldwide. Ivan is a former world champion in individual competition, and Nikita is currently the top contender for Ric Flair's NWA world title. Hobbies: powerlifting, but of course Russian literature, because that goes great with powerlifting. My favorite card in the set, because I'm biased, the Road Warriors. Now, what's interesting is these tag team belts. I honestly can't remember if these were one of the NWA titles at the time or the AWA tag team belts. I want to say they're the NWA belts, but if you guys know, please leave a comment below which belts they're wearing at this time. But just look at this image. I mean, this is the Road Warriors. It says AWA World Tag Team Champions on it, going back to talking about the belts, but for some reason I was thinking they had a different design. Again, let me know in the comments. Hawk and Animal grew up in the streets of Chicago and took up weightlifting to defend themselves in a tough neighborhood. They won the NWA title as rookies with no knowledge of wrestling. That's interesting. Opponents don't like to wrestle against them because they enjoy breaking bones as much as winning matches. Accurate. They also like to attack people before the ring bells. Absolutely, especially in the AWA. When I was watching the Road Warriors in AWA as a kid, I can always remember them jump in the ring, jump in the jobbers, the match is over in 30 seconds. Incredibly strong, the Road Warriors frequently press opponents overhead. Hobbies: pressing refrigerators and tearing chains. That's exactly what I like to hear from my favorite pro wrestlers. Next up, Sergeant Slaughter. This has some crossover appeal. You've got the WWF fans, the AWA fans, maybe they were fans of his stuff from Mid-Atlantic, or maybe they're just G.I. Joe fans. I've always said Sergeant Slaughter has such a good crossover appeal. Amazing image with the military gear that he has on, of course, but the American flag draped over him. You gotta love it. Sarge is probably the world's most popular wrestler. Actually, he may have been at the time, again with the G.I. Joe crossover. He's held championships in the AWA, NWA, and WWF. Again, remember how I talk about how cards feature crossover information and talent? You would not see probably an WWE Prism card say, this man is a former New Japan champion or a former AEW champion, but here in the 80s, you got stuff like this. I love it. Despite the great size, Slaughter possesses surprising agility and speed. There's no defense against his Slaughter Cannon and the Cobra Clutch. Sarge can be seen driving to matches in his camouflage limousine. I've never actually seen that. Outside the ring, he's one of the gentlest men in wrestling. Hobbies: celebrity golf tournaments and charity work. What a baby face. I've never actually seen Sergeant Slaughter golf. That would be interesting. And lastly, the model, Rick Martel. Now, I was such a fan of Rick Martel in the WWF, especially the arrogance phase.
Arrogance. It's today's man in a classic can.
I absolutely love this AWA Heavyweight Championship belt. I've always loved it for some reason. I remember first seeing it growing up when Nick Bockwinkel had it. It's a massive belt. It kind of reminds me of the Big Gold from the NWA WCW time, but for some reason I've just always loved this belt. Great studio shot. I always talk about how I like the kind of posed studio shots over action shots, and this one fits the bill. Rick has been a national hero in Canada since he chose wrestling as a career over professional hockey. He's one of the best athletes in the world and has a large following among female fans. Because of his good guy image, bad guys feel compelled to gang up on him. Rick's speed and agility has enabled him to defend his title against favorites and rule breakers. Hobbies: hockey and horseback riding. Great combination. A combination that everyone would expect, right? I hope you all enjoyed this trip back in time to look at the 1986 Carnation Major League Wrestling cards. What do you think about this set? Do you own these? Or do you have one of the posters? Do you still somehow have one of those sealed boxes the hot chocolate came in? That would be awesome. Let me know in the comments below. Let's get some conversation going. You can tag me on social media if you want to talk about it on any of the social platforms. And as always, if this video brought you some value, please hit that subscribe button, give me a like, and spread the word about the video. Share it with a friend, a collector, or wrestling fan, maybe somebody that just likes Christmas. And before you get out of here, make sure to check the links in the show notes below for all of the different ways that you can help show your support. Links to other podcasts I'm involved with, links to Patreon, links to all my social platforms, the eBay store. It's all down there. I want to personally thank you for stopping by my channel in this busy holiday season. I know how hectic it can be for everyone. But until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content. And from me personally to you and yours, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals!